Welcome to CFRI Cystic Fibrosis Community Voices, a video podcast series created by and for the cystic fibrosis community.
Hello, and welcome to CFRI's CF Community Voices, coming to you from our home studio in Palo Alto, California. I'm Sue Landgraf, Executive Director of Cystic Fibrosis Research Incorporated, CFRI, and I'm very pleased to welcome our viewers and listeners. We have a very special program ahead, but before getting started, I want to thank our generous sponsors, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, Chiesa USA, Gilead Sciences, Genentech, and Proteostasis Therapeutics. I also would like to note that no information presented in this podcast is intended for a patient's diagnosis or treatment. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you, and let's get started.
CFRI offers Embrace, an annual weekend retreat for mothers of children and adults with cystic fibrosis, which provides an opportunity to meet and share with others on the CF path. Embrace begins with the sharing of personal diagnosis stories, as it was when their children were diagnosed that these mothers entered a new and foreign world. At the first retreat, Darlene Batchelder and Modlin, mothers of adult children with CF, launched the weekend by sharing their deeply personal diagnosis stories. Here are Robin and Darlene.
Hello, I'm Darlene.
I'm Robin.
Into every life, crap will fall. Most of us do as well as possible, and some of it works okay, and we try to release that which doesn't and which is never going to. Making so much of it work is the grace of it, and not being able to make it work is double grace. Grace squared.
I was pregnant. I noticed another young mother with her child. An infectious joy was radiating from them. I watched as the mother lovingly and playfully enjoyed her daughter. I also noticed that the child had Down syndrome. I reached for my belly with the baby growing inside me. We pray for healthy children, for children who are perfect. I watched them and noticed a feeling arising in me. I was coveting this mother's special bond with her perfect daughter. I never forgot about this mother, her child, their special love, and my guilty wish for as deep a bond with my own child.
Shh. Joe is quiet in my womb. He hardly moves. He's so different from his older brother Richard, who is now 2. Richard was very active, punching and kicking. Perhaps Joe is resting for the challenge to come. Life is hard work, and I work. I work hard, managing a busy organization full of projects, audits, reviews, deadlines, budgets, and long-range plans. I have little time for the first son and wonder how I will manage with 2. In my few quiet moments, I am drawn to sad stories of sick infants with cancer or other disease. How strange.
She was born on a very warm summer day shortly after noon. We started in the birthing room, but because of an excess of vernix in the amniotic fluid, we were moved to the delivery room just in case. She was born with me needing no pain medications. I breathed into each contraction, feeling the miracle and pain of each progressive step. Labor was not long. Such joy, and our journey began.
Joe is born, a quick and easy birth with little pain. He nearly falls out, and he's so tiny, only 7 pounds, with very low APGAR scores. He nurses poorly and is always hungry, hungry, hungry. My breasts are sore. He cries a lot. I'm back at work and with a live-in nanny. She lets Joe cry more than I would. I'm upset, but it turns out to be a blessing. I sleep with him, feeding constantly. I'm a zombie at work.
It was the year that Diana and Prince Charles were wed. To see the wedding live on television, you had to be up and watching in the wee hours of the morning. This was no problem for me. It seemed that I got little sleep with Anna. She had colic and slept little. I was up walking and pacing and rocking, while Diana arrived in her horse-drawn carriage and entered the church in her fairy tale gown. I was sleepless, but I had my own fairy tale life, with my baby and my husband, and all my young dreams were coming true.
Joe doesn't grow. At 4 months, he's still so tiny, 11 pounds. He cries and farts, and his poo is very loose with a peculiar sour smell. I don't recall this with Richard, and I'm all over Stanford Hospital with him, and I'm told, the poo is this way because you're nursing. But I nursed my older son and didn't have this happen. I feel patronized. Maybe it's a growth hormone problem. Could it be dwarfism? And the worst, it's fetal alcohol syndrome from 2 glasses that I drank of wine before I knew I was pregnant. I get no answers, just repeated visits to Stanford, CAT scans, x-rays, blood tests, this on top of work. If they can't find anything, what can possibly be wrong? I'm exhausted.
Her poop was bulky, and that smell. She continued not to sleep, and neither did I. But I was a strong woman and mother, and of course, in some ways, I knew so much better how to care for my daughter than my mother, with her old-fashioned points of view. I remember her remarking about her poop, but I was not alarmed or concerned. I was not going to be a nervous mother. My mother was a nervous mother, and I was determined not to be one too.
Time passes, and Joe seems happy, farting and belching with smelly poops. We laugh at the noises and the smells he makes. They become a joke for the extended family. I work while our overweight nanny joyfully stuffs Joe with food. He's still quite petite. We call him Mr. No Butt because he has no butt. More tests, no answers.
My little Anna went everywhere with me, in strollers for walks and jogs, and in the bike seat for rides downtown. We had so much fun, but she seemed to get colds and coughs frequently for a baby and young one. One morning, when she was about 9 months old, I decided to be the nervous mother, and I opened up my Dr. Spock to check on her symptoms. He wrote about a disease called cystic fibrosis. It was inherited. The symptoms described what I was beginning to see in my little Anna. I read Dr. Spock to Doug. That morning, we said to each other, "But we have no one in our families with this disease." I made an appointment with our pediatrician anyway, just in case.
10 months, and the universe finally flips a switch. The doctor, an aging hippie, kicks herself for missing it. She recommends a sweat test, but she is emphatic before we trundle off to the clinic for the test. It has to be CF. She apologizes profusely. She should have caught this sooner. So I know before I get the test results, I'm in a trance, and I'm relieved. Finally, a diagnosis, a name, and direction. Thank God, even if it's this one, this CF.
It was a well baby check. That was what I was telling myself. And while I was watching Anna's doctor weigh and listen to her, I said, "I'm worried she might have cystic fibrosis. I read about it in Dr. Spock." She asked me a couple of questions, and I downplayed my answers, not wanting this to be so. She told me she does not have cystic fibrosis. My doctor had just recently diagnosed a baby about the same age as Anna with CF, so the chance of another so close together was not realistic. I was so relieved. It was clear that my doctor knew about this disease, had seen it in another baby, and I was reassured. I was not going to be a nervous mother and make up diagnoses anymore.
I take a leave from work, 6 months so we can figure this out. In those days before the internet, I'm in the library reading everything I can find. I am so determined to fight this thing. I tell everyone Joe will live as long as I do. Looking back, knowing what I know now, people probably thought I was desperate or maybe a bit loony. The odds were not good. I was once again exhausted but exhilarated. I tell everyone about CF and Joe. I'm surprised when people cry at the news. No crying for me. I'm a warrior.
January 1983. Anna was 18 months old. It was a Wednesday. Another cold, another deep cough. We went to the doctor and an x-ray revealed pneumonia. I came home with Anna, swaddled, and our landlady, Mrs. Darknell, tisked at the diagnosis and said that pneumonia in a baby such as Anna could be dangerous. I was worried, but felt all would pass. By Saturday, late afternoon, Anna's skin tone was bluish. We called the doctor on call, and Dr. Lloyd was just finishing up seeing after-hours patients at the clinic, and he said he would drive over to our house to check on Anna. When he arrived, he could see her distress and invited me, holding Anna, to ride with him in a sports car to the emergency room for a little oxygen. Doug followed in our car. It was my father's birthday, January 29th. I will never forget the date of that day, what I always think of as our entry point into the CF world.
At the end of 6 months, I officially quit my job. I quit to do battle with cystic fibrosis. And now my days are full of enzymes, percussion, aerosols, hand washing, yelling at people who smoke around Joe. I stick notes in the mailbox of people who burn wood in their fireplaces. I'm like a mad woman on a mission for clean air for my son and all the kids with CF.
Her blood gases were alarming, and Anna was admitted to the ICU and placed on a ventilator. The truth is, if we had not gotten to the hospital then or that night, Anna would not have survived. What was it that caused this serious assault on our daughter? Many experts were called in to assess her. The virologist told us it was a very rare and nasty virus that can cause this type of illness in children, and she would get better soon. But she did not. Cystic fibrosis was mentioned in passing, but always with the addition of, but even if she did have it, her treatment would not be any different. 2 weeks passed with Anna on a ventilator and strings of thick, sticky mucus being regularly suctioned from her lungs. Finally, our doctor decided that a test for CF needed to be made. But there were hospital politics. It took, from what I heard, some yelling and arm twisting, but finally it was agreed to test her. They strapped the little electrode onto her tiny arm to make the skin sweat. To this day, she has a little scar from the burn on her delicate skin. And it was true, she did have CF. And it was not true that nothing would change with her treatment. When we were told of the diagnosis after 2 weeks of sleeping in a hospital waiting room with our firstborn child on the edge of life, it was more than I could bear. My fairy tale was shattered. It was late afternoon, and we walked out of the hospital to the car. It was the only really private place that we could be. I screamed and wailed. Doug held me. He was relieved with the revelation, for he felt now we knew what was going on, and we could deal with that so much better. Me, no. This was not what I wanted to hear. This meant a sentence of chronic illness if she could ever get off the ventilator. At that first step was highly in question. Could her body heal enough to be detached from those machines? And then we would be parenting a sick child for the rest of her life, and as for having more children, I probably would never get pregnant again. The heartbreak was life-altering. I was in my dark night of the soul. There was no spiritual reality. The only reality that meant anything was that hospital room and those machines that kept Anna, my baby, and my being a mother alive. The CF specialists were called in, adjustments were made to her medications, including that life-saving drug prednisone, and eventually, after 5 weeks on a ventilator, she came back to us.
Joe is thriving. Enzymes make a huge difference. Our lives are all about getting those into him, visiting the clinic, working his treatments into our lives. Everyone is so cooperative, so sympathetic, and glad it's not them. Or perhaps glad it's me. Everyone tells me and my husband that Joe picked the perfect mom for CF. I am ferocious about doing everything right, everything I can.
I asked myself, how are you going to do this? How are you going to be a mother of a child who will most likely die at a very young age? How are you going to care for a child with a serious lung disease? How can I cope with this? And arising from a place in my heart, I realized if she lived a short life, there would be blessings. If she lived a long life, there would be blessings. So I agreed, and I accepted the journey.
Joe has his first asthma episode. We hustle off to the old children's hospital. I'm deathly afraid of cross-infection. They are careful and considerate there, but I see really sick kids in the CF ward. I should be terrified, but I push the terror away. I'm convinced that Joe won't end up like them. I'm determined. I drive everyone crazy with my determination.
We needed to find others who shared this CF world with us. There was a meeting in San Jose, not far away. In a modest building's second-story room, I walked up the stairs to a place where a few people were gathering. I did not want to be there. This was not a club that I wanted to join. I had not signed up for this. This journey was painful and odd and uncomfortable, but we introduced ourselves and found a lifetime of friendship. It was these people who could understand what we were going through. It was these people who had seen CF children die, and they survived. It was here that we met CF adults who broke the barriers of longevity. It was these people who we could rely on and spoke our language.
CF is a gift. I see that now. I'm able to be with both of my sons in a way I never would have without it. I would still be racing around juggling nannies and sons, work and husband. Instead, I'm home and available to family, to my aging mother, and so many others. I'm enjoying my moments with them all. I'm focused on CF most of the time, though, joining CFRI, looking for company on this journey. I meet amazing moms, some with children much sicker than mine. I'm learning, volunteering, finally sleeping, though always listening for the cough in the night. CF has me focused on the moments and on a new future for Joe, for me, and for all of us.
And the years have moved on for our family. CF has torn us to tatters. CF has shown us the way. CF has been our lifesaver, and CF has been our demise. And Anna has lived longer than expected, and there have been many blessings, including the gift of new lungs. Each moment is precious. Each moment is still so unsure with my perfect daughter. This has been my journey as a mother. CF has been my teacher, my heartbreaker, my healer, my door opener, my hated guest, my gift giver, my truth teller, and my miracle maker.
CF is a grace. I am on my knees regularly, now surrendering to what it is, to what I cannot change. My heart is broken for my son, for his future, for the hard work it will probably be for him, for all of us. I am heartbroken for everyone touched by this disease. I certainly know how hard this past year has been, this years of struggle and diagnosis. And this first year, I've yet to meet the amazing adults with CF who will inspire me. And I've yet to see many of them pass away. Still, in my determination and my fierce love for my son with CF, I have been given a grace to be fully needed, to be brave, to be present in a new way, to let go, to feel compassion for myself, my son, and others on this journey. I have been given the grace of finding my heart.
So, this is how it has been for 35 years now. This has been my reality as a mother, a person in this world. I have learned to embrace CF as something unchangeable and, in a way, perhaps meant to be in my life, to help me grow, to see beauty, to find deep and meaningful relationships, and to experience miracles. Would I change it? Well, I am a mother. Wouldn't I always want to take away the pain from my children? Of course. But I have watched my children embrace this as a part of who they are too. Anna, my child with CF, has taken this disease and her opportunities and has lived her life as fully and consciously as she possibly could. She has taken me with her on her journey and shared the most amazing experiences together, from meeting the Dalai Lama to the miracle of her life being saved through transplant to winning gold medals in South Africa, and the list is long and continues. And my other daughter has grown into a compassionate, smart, and very mature woman who is now graduating from medical school so that she can help others, and she will be an incredible physician. What a life we have had and are having because we have embraced this part of our lives.
Since Joe's diagnosis 28 years ago, this journey has been like walking the Camino in Spain, which I did last September. It's truly been a spiritual journey, one that chose me and invited me to choose it back. I've taken time on this journey, on this Camino, to pray, to appreciate the challenge of the journey, to get prepared physically for the demands of the road. I've met incredible people along the way, stopped for meals with them, and conversations. We've shared our lives and dreams and provided consolation for each other in our desolation. We celebrated milestones, birthdays, weddings, transplants, new therapies, and research breakthroughs. We've mourned. And as I look ahead on this CF Camino, I imagine more and greater breakthroughs in CF research. I imagine that my son lives a full and satisfying life, one he's designed just as I'm still designing mine. I envision bumps in the road that I can handle because I exist in community, in several powerful and supportive communities, with people I love and can rely on, in meaningful relationships where I am loved and held. I envision continuing to contribute to making a difference in people's lives as I move along as a coach and spiritual director. And most importantly, I envision being surprised at the destination, unattached to how it all turns out, trusting that I've loved my way there. How could it be anything other than wonderful?
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
Thank you.